So I just got done watching the Bad Bunny halftime show with my MAGA family, and let me tell you, nobody is more pissed off than a bunch of white people that failed Spanish in high school. They kept saying that Bad Bunny was only chosen to make people angry and to spread hate as he walked off of the field to DTMF and a sign behind him that said the only thing more powerful than hate is love.
Should have been in English so we could understand. The Epstein files are in English, and y'all don't seem to understand those either.
Sorry, you guys were mad that you couldn't understand Bad Bunny in Spanish, so you tuned into a halftime show where the lead artist was singing bum diddy bum da dang da dang diggy diggy.
We don't need a Bad Bunny, we need a good God. And before you say amen, sit down and be quiet for just 1 second. Give me 2 more minutes. I got one thing left to tackle. I promise not to go long. You know,
Gonna put on my boots, gotta kiss my fish. If the hook don't set right or left hook my chick, I wanna get my truck a lifted kid and compensate for my tiny dick.
Sorry, Pierce, but to get up there and perform the whole show in Spanish is a middle finger to the rest of America. Who gives a damn that we have 40 million Spanish speakers in the United States? We have 310 million who don't speak a lick of Spanish.
Ladies and gentlemen, MAGA just can't stop playing America's favorite game, FAFO. Fuck around and find out. Like, genuinely, at this point, it's giving addiction. Like, someone please stage an intervention. Call Dr. Phil. Oh, wait, he's one of them.
What the hell do I know?
So, the Super Bowl went down on Sunday, and MAGA made a big ol' promise to their spray-tan deity that they wouldn't watch the halftime show.
Good morning, Patriots. Today's daily devotional is about Super Bowl Sunday. Now, I know a lot of you are struggling in your spirit today because the Super Bowl halftime show is coming, and well, it's not the kind of music that we approve of. Now, a lot of people are asking me, Pastor, are you really watching the Super Bowl even though Bad Bunny will be there? Yes, I have a lot riding on the Patriots tonight, so of course I'm watching the Super Bowl. I'm just not watching that halftime show. I'll be watching Kid Rock. Because as Christians, we don't just listen to any music, we listen to music that reflects our values, our morals, our culture. Which is why tonight I will be watching a God-fearing, flag-loving, blessed man of faith. Now, some of you are saying, Pastor, doesn't Kid Rock swear? Doesn't he sing about drinking, partying, and underage women? Hasn't he been divorced multiple times and live a lifestyle that clearly contradicts Christian values? And to that I say, yes, but he does all of that in English. You see, Patriots, sin is only a problem when it comes in another language.
Get this. A Spanish singer doesn't represent American culture. Yeah, these people really woke up and said xenophobia for breakfast. Except, here's the plot twist that makes this so juicy. Bad Bunny is American. Yup, Puerto Rico is part of America. But you know MAGA, they are constantly racing against intelligence and knowledge, and they are way faster even when knowledge is chasing after them.
How racist do you have to be offended that Bad Bunny is performing at the Super Bowl halftime show? Like, Bad Bunny is a Puerto Rican artist, which is a part of America, but we all know for a fact if Justin Bieber, which is a Canadian artist, by the way, performed at the Super Bowl halftime show, everyone would be like, oh, yay, whoa, whoa, whoa. But since Bad Bunny speaks Spanish, he's not American. America is built off culture. It's literally a melting pot of culture. So what is the big issue here?
Imagine being so loud and so wrong at the same time. And now they're foaming at the mouth. Orange foam. Mango-tinted fury. The outrage is so spicy, I need a glass of milk.
Is this what the Super Bowl halftime show is going to look like on Sunday? Will you be watching? He'll know! He'll know! No and he'll know! Not on any TV I own! Not on my TV, Duts! We won't know! Not watching! Bad Bunny out! I could care less! It will not be on my TV! Bad Bunny no? TPUSA yes! TPUSA halftime show! Kid Rock and TPUSA for the win! TPUSA for Mr. Halftime is TPUSA 100! Only the game! Halftime, Charlie Kirk. I'm watching the other halftime show, the Charlie Kirk special. Half a game is better than none. I hear drones are coming halftime. U.S. flag. What Super Bowl halftime show? They still do that? U.S. flag? Nope. I heard there's another one happening. Wink, Liberian flag, eagle. Ice in, get 'em all ice. They should have ICE agents at every entrance. This would be the NFL's Bud Light moment. Now, commas, he's from South America in his cocktail dress. It's a slumber party for anarchists. Looks more like the Sugar Bowl. They said the men are wearing thongs. Bundle of sticks out. Some jokes just write themselves. Surprise guest, hologram of Elvis. Just saying. Pool my eyes out, please. High five. I'd rather poop and pee all day.
From Captain Dumpy Pants himself to the screeching choir of Megyn Kelly and Laura Loomer, plus every uncle who gets their news from Facebook memes, they are losing it. Like full meltdown. You would think Bad Bunny personally deflated their tires and called their dog ugly. But wait, it gets worse for them. Their alternative halftime show? You know, the one they hyped up like it was going to be Trump's second inauguration but with guitars? Yeah, it flopped harder than Kid Rock's vocal cords trying to hold a tune without auto-tune. It was basically one long, off-key boomer karaoke session dressed in American flag merch from Walmart clearance.
I know we shouldn't feel bad for MAGA, but the deep, empathetic bones in my body feel so bad that all of us just got to experience that Bad Bunny halftime show, and they had to watch the Turning Point USA bullshit, and they have to pretend like it was as good. So funny picturing them all like taking a stand, you know, like turning off the Super Bowl and being like, I'm watching Turning Point USA. And they turn on, you know, the Turning Point bullshit, and probably out their window next door, they like have neighbors who are watching the actual halftime show, and they're hearing like the bumping and the cheering and the crying that's coming because of Bad Bunny's halftime show. Like they're hearing that from outside the window, you know, and they have to like pretend that they're not a little bit jealous, that because of their like political hateful bullshit they have to pretend to want to watch the Turning Point USA halftime show. You have to pretend that the Turning Point USA show is good. You have to pretend that what you're watching is also exciting. That sucks.
Lip syncing so bad even Ashley Simpson was like, girl, no. And to make it even more tragic, they couldn't stream it anywhere other than YouTube. They were so disorganized, they failed to secure a license to stream on X.
Their halftime show is already a flop. They can't even get it to work over on Twitter. They didn't think to figure out the licensing before they tried to stream their halftime show.
So they ended up watching it on YouTube, having to use bots to spike the views because even Trump was like, hell no.
Turning Point USA hosted an alternative halftime show, and yet every single right-wing influencer and President Trump managed to watch Bad Bunny's performance, and they all had an absolute meltdown over it. As you can see from this video, Trump is literally at Mar-a-Lago watching Bad Bunny's halftime performance instead of Kid Rock. If you didn't catch Kid Rock's performance, though, you really didn't miss too much because it looks like he lip-synced and the whole performance wasn't even live, it was pre-recorded.
I'm beginning to suspect that Erica Kirk might just have a massive humiliation kink informing all of her decisions, because what do you mean the Turning Point All-American I'm Scared of Foreigners halftime show will be back next year? You know, the pre-recorded halftime show where a geriatric disgraced Kid Rock got to jiggle about on stage for 150 paid actors, badly lip-syncing one of his songs. We got to see generic MAGA stadium country artist number 57 singing about how much he wants to kiss his fish.
Gonna put on my boots, gotta kiss my fish. If the hook don't set right or left, hook my chick. I wanna get my truck a lifted, kid, and compensate for my tiny dick.
I just wanna drive my truck, drink my beer, and call a minority a slur with words that ain't in the Bible that I claim to read. I just wanna be a real man, get a fake tan, and wear $2,000 boots, but I'm still one of you. Except I'm rich. Remember when we could say what we want without the woke mob cancel culture? Telling dirty jokes, letting boys be boys, not these feminine snowflake vultures. I saw a man die with the same kind of gun I used to hunt my deer. He was killed for speaking his truth, but he lives on inside of you.
So MAGA basically spent millions on this performance, all to create their own halftime safe space, something that they used to mock. But because they were so scared of being offended by Bad Bunny's performance, and yet he delivered not only a unifying and incredible performance, but the most watched Super Bowl halftime show in history.
The Turning Point USA halftime show has allegedly lost so much money that it's threatening the entire organization's finances, and that really is the true Super Bowl victory.
Makes you wonder what Erica Kirk does with all that money from you-know-who and all that merch money. Meanwhile, Trump and his Mar-a-Lago pals, oh, they absolutely tuned into the official halftime show. They didn't even pretend to watch the Kid Rock fiasco. Trump has never liked Bad Bunny, so he basically hate-watched the halftime show. The second the dancers hit the stage, he rushed to Truth Social to complain that the women's dancing was inappropriate and not good for kids.
So Trump weighed in on Bad Bunny's halftime show, and if you're like me and have been reading the Epstein files, it is hard to not think about that whenever you're reading or listening to anything. He said the dancing is disgusting, especially for young children that are watching from throughout the US and around the world. I don't know about you guys, but when I saw that, I thought, why was he disgusted about the women dancing? Because he thought they were too old? Because, you know, a 22-year-old to this guy's like a grandma. Maybe what he meant was it's disgusting because he felt like the young children should have been the ones in the show.
So it turns out at at Cedar Lake, the Super Bowl halftime of choice was not Hillbilly Half, it was Benito Bowl. And I'll admit, I was a bit surprised because, well, Kid Rock is just another name for Epstein Island, and, well, we all know how much they love that. Nobody understands a word this guy is saying, screeched the orange blubber on Truth Social. While married to an immigrant who, despite living in the US for over 2 decades, we still have no idea what she's trying to say. Hoo-yah, Navy! And who was curiously absent from the Cedar Lake viewing party. But you know who wasn't? Lindsey Graham, and he was sure locked in.
Did y'all see what Dookie Booty said about Bad Bunny's halftime performance? Nobody understands a word this guy is saying. And the dancing is disgusting, especially for young children that are watching from throughout the USA and all over the world. First of all, Dookie Booty, keep children out your mother mouth. Don't speak on children, okay? You have no right to say what's appropriate for children. We know what the fuck you think is appropriate for children. We know what the fuck you have done with children. So you shut your motherfucking mouth bringing up kids, okay, bitch?
And just like that, MAGA discovered morality. Apparently, this is where they draw the line, choreography. Which is hilarious considering his new political bestie is Nicki Minaj. Has anyone in that circle actually seen her music videos? Because if halftime dancing is a threat to children, then Anaconda should have triggered a national emergency. And let's not forget Charlie Kirk once said,
"Right now, black culture is being held captive by influences, songs, and role models." I mean, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B.
Okay, Nicki Minaj is causing dads to leave the home.
Hold on a second. I don't think that's a good role model for 18-year-old black girls. I don't think that songs that are talking about, like, glorifying wet female genitalia is exactly, I don't know which one wrote that song. Which one was it?
I think it was Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But now that she's orbiting MAGA, that concern mysteriously vanished. So when Trump starts pro-clutching online, it's not about protecting kids, it's branding. If the dancing comes wrapped in Latin culture and something MAGA doesn't like, it's a crisis. If the same energy shows up next to a red hat, it's suddenly fine. The moral superiority flips faster than a campaign slogan. But the cherry on top? MAGA found out, just now, that Green Day is not pro-MAGA. As in, have you read the lyrics?
I am genuinely asking this question. How does someone tweet, "I used to love Green Day. They were my favorite band in high school. Dookie, an album in the 90s, was everything. It sucks when artists speak about politics." What? I mean, are you really telling me you think Green Day just started speaking about politics when they put Free Huey Newton on the cover of that album that you love so much? I mean, do you truly believe, like, in nothing? Do you not use your eyes? I mean, or is it that you just don't use your ears? Because I truly need to know, did you not pay attention to any of the hits whatsoever? Like, for example, Holiday is talking about being anti-war, anti-American imperialism during the Bush years. Like, truly curious, when you heard the bridge, none of this registered? I mean, unfortunately, you could just add it to the list, I suppose, because here we are. You know, it reminds me of when this dude up here added Tom Morello and said, I used to be a fan until your political opinions come out. Music is my sanctuary. The last thing I want to hear is political BS when I'm listening to music. As far as I'm concerned, you and Pink are completely done. Keep running your mouth and ruining your fan base. And that was when Tom Morello replied and was like, Scott, what music of mine were you a fan of that didn't contain political BS? I need to know so I can delete it from the catalog. I've said it before and I will say it again until I am blue in the face. Art is inherently left-leaning.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. Literally came out of Billy Joe's mouth, and these folks were like, huh? I thought this was about my freedom. These are the same people who've been bopping to Gasolina, Macarena, and Despacito for decades. And now they're suddenly like, if it ain't English, we no comprende.
So just so I get this straight though, the NFL did a whole halftime show in Spanish, and they didn't provide any subtitles. 0 subtitles for a Spanish halftime show. Just Bad Bunny a few months ago saying we had a few months to learn Spanish to understand it, and the Super Bowl Licks logo. Sorry. Because yeah, it was Super Bowl Licks with a logo that looked like a half-assed pride flag, Bad Bunny singing in Spanish and no subtitles. Who the hell doesn't put up subtitles? Oh yeah, and the other national anthem too. I tell you what, I am so sick of so many institutions in this country, including the NFL, doing things that they think will tick people off. They literally said months ago, we're going to have a halftime show in another language. We're not going to provide subtitles. And if you don't like that, you're a racist. What a bunch of dumbasses.
These maggot videos of them hating on Bad Bunny at the halftime show are just cracking me up because they look so stupid. They look so stupid.
Just left the Super Bowl party. They're like, where are you going? And I'm like, oh, I'm going home. I'm not watching Big Bad Bunny or Big Bunny or Bad Bunny or whatever his name is. Bunny Rabbit, Boo Boo. I don't know. But I was like, yeah, bye. I'm going to watch some good, wholesome fun with a Turning Point USA Super Bowl party.
Uh-huh. Sure, Jan. The FAFO was astronomical. You could see the fallout from space. So, buckle up and welcome back to another episode of Breaking Bread, where the MAGA tears flow like sweet tea in July. You asked for more of this delicious chaos, and I heard you. So hit that like button if you live for a good MAGA meltdown, and smash subscribe so you never miss a single FAFO moment from me. Grab your popcorn, your wine, your emotional support churro, whatever you need, because this one's straight fire. Let's get into it. Oh, and before anyone asks why I'm saying let's get into it a whole 18 minutes in, listen, the MAGA Super Bowl halftime alternative FAFO was so concentrated, so spiritually overwhelming that I genuinely got lost in the edit. Time stopped making sense. I looked up and somehow we were already deep into the video. But hey, if you've made it this far, congratulations. You, my friend, are a real patriot of chaos and commitment. Now, let's roll some more of these clips and hear what Americans across the spectrum had to say.
Major news that is sure to enrage Trump further. The early Nielsen data is showing that over 135 million people tuned in to watch the Bad Bunny halftime show. And they're saying, at best, it's around 7 million people that tuned in to watch the alternative halftime show with Kid Rock put on by Turning Point USA. It's a far cry from the Bad Bunny show. And there were only a couple hundred people in attendance for the Kid Rock show that turns out was pre-recorded, and he was just lip-syncing the entire time, and it was really poorly done. Bad Bunny had an audience of over 70,000 people at Levi's Stadium, so the Turning Point USA halftime alternative show turned out to be a total dud. And even Trump himself has now been caught on camera playing the halftime show with Bad Bunny at his private Super Bowl party in Mar-a-Lago.
Well, give credit where credit is due. Big congratulations to the Turning Point USA folks and their alternative halftime show last night. You guys band together, and you, with all your MAGA followers, pitched such a huge hissy fit that you made Bad Bunny the highest rated Super Bowl halftime show of all time. So good job. Good job. Well done. Well done. I didn't see it, but I heard that Kid Rock is one hell of a lip syncer and looks good in a pair of cut-off jean shorts. Props.
We have some news right now. A Republican member of Congress is now calling for an investigation into Bad Bunny's halftime show. The Republican member, his name is Andy Ogles, and he claims Bad Bunny's halftime show was, quote, a disgrace and it mocked American families, and is calling for an investigation into NFL and NBC Universal for, quote, their prior knowledge, deliberate approval, and facilitation of this indecent broadcast. He wrote a letter to Representative Brett Guthrie, a Kentucky Republican, the chairman of the House Committee on Energy and Commerce, demanding this investigation because he believes, Andy Ogles believes, that Bad Bunny's show displayed sexual acts, women, quote, gyrating provocatively, and Bad Bunny, quote, shamelessly grabbing his crotch while dry humping the air. Those are direct quotes from Andy Ogles' investigation request. This is what they're focusing on right now.
In the most delicious irony of our time, a man named Kid Rock, whose name is basically just a euphemism for Epstein Island, was the headline performer at a safe space for the very people who call liberals snowflakes, all because they're offended by an American singing in Spanish, which people, by the way, are the same ones who dance offbeat to the Macarena on cruise ships, drunk on margarita and tequila, without a single thought about the lyrics. Also, they could manufacture the very division they claimed existed by politicizing the performance of arguably the most relevant artist in the world by grandstanding one of the most irrelevant artists in a Jim Crow-era halftime show. A politicized performance hosted, by the way, by Turning Point USA, which is ran by a widow who monetizes her husband's death with the same energy as the Haktua girl, and who made the performance about herself in the name of Christianity, all while the rest of the country watched a message of diversity and unity that reminded us to love our neighbors with more compassion and empathy. All the while, their unhinged leader ranted and raved about petty personal grievances just to distract us from the fact that he's visited Kid Rock dozens of times, which his Christian followers defend despite denouncing the halftime show. Ah, the irony.
Why didn't Turning Point USA host Nicki Minaj to perform last night instead of these random no-names? She praises Donald Trump. She appeared at Turning Point USA events already, sharing a stage with Erica Kirk and Trump himself, and has publicly aligned herself with a movement that rarely gets A-list pop stars to show up at all. But in the lead up to the Super Bowl, she was positioned as a rare, globally recognizable, non-country, non-legacy, internationally renowned artist for MAGA. And yet, when Turning Point USA announced its set list, a last-minute set list, mind you, for their alternative Super Bowl event, Nicki Minaj did not perform. Instead, the lineup leaned heavily country. Lee Brice, Gabby Barrett, and other artists whose audiences skew white, southern, and politically conservative. Bad Bunny has more than 85 million monthly Spotify listeners. That's why he performed the main event. Nicki Minaj has about half as much, with over 44 million. Lee Brice and Gabby Barrett sit under 5 million each. So this was not about reach or relevance. It was certainly not about star power. But the answer lies in something that the right has been unusually honest about. A year before his death, Charlie Kirk, leader of TPUSA, publicly called Nicki Minaj a bad role model for 18-year-old girls.
Minaj, Cardi B.
Okay, Nicki Minaj is causing dads to leave the home.
Hold on a second. I don't think that's a good role model for 18-year-old black girls. I don't think that songs that are talking about, like, glorifying wet female genitalia is exactly, I don't know which one wrote that song. Which one was it? Who do you get your art from? It's what values are they putting forward?
You think Charlie's fans or even Erica disagreed with him? Do you think that they do now? I think that Erica and Fox News would echo Charlie's sentiment if Nikki criticized ICE or Trump now, but she's done the opposite, making her useful. Conservatives today are starving for cultural and institutional legitimacy. Most genuinely influential celebrities refuse to formally align themselves with Trumpism. In fact, most outwardly do the opposite. So the movement does what it can. It claims proximity. That's how Sydney Sweeney, who's never self-identified as Republican, let alone a Trump supporter, got branded as MAGA Barbie. Proximity becomes endorsement by speculation and suggestion. Nicki Minaj, however, can only be used up until a certain point because she's still black. She comes from an immigrant background. Her career is inseparable from sexual autonomy, explicit performance, and a body of work that the Christian right has spent decades condemning. These are not traits that conservative cultural institutions ultimately reward. They're traits that they temporarily tolerate when optics demand it. I mean, even Nikki's reported golden Trump card framed by Trump allies as symbolic access or favor shows the imbalance here. Whether or not such a card has any standing under U.S. immigration law, it does reflect a belief that loyalty will be met with belonging. But unfortunately for Nikki, history suggests otherwise. She appears to believe that this is a transactional relationship. Platform for platform, loyalty for protection, proximity for legitimacy. But the conservative movement does not absorb people like Nikki. It borrows them, parades them, and when a moment comes to present a clean, values-aligned public image, white, conservative, country, safe. Nicki Minaj was not excluded last night because she lacks influence. She was excluded because influence is not the point. Acceptance is. And she was never going to be offered that. Nicki Minaj is not a conservative convert. She's a pawn. And when she's no longer useful, the door will close.
Like literally millions of white people are losing their minds that Bad Bunny performed the entire halftime show in Spanish, like they're losing sleep over it. So I decided to do some research, and this is so worth listening to. We're going to go deep, okay? So, did you know all those English-speaking white slave owners severely limited what English words black slaves understood? They were only allowed to understand enough English words to accomplish their duties as slaves. They did this for a number of reasons. Number one, to maintain control of their slaves. Keeping people ignorant was a deliberate psychological tool to maintain the myth of white intellectual superiority and ensure total dependence on the master. Another goal of limiting their understanding of English words was to maintain a system of psychological gaslighting, keeping enslaved people in a state of uncertainty and dependence. For example, slave owners often tried to keep enslaved people from knowing about upcoming slave sales. If a person knew they were about to be sold down the river to the harsher labor camps of the Deep South, they were much more likely to run away and revolt. It was during these sales that families were separated without warning to prevent emotional scenes or resistance that might lower the market value of the slaves. White slave owners could speak openly about all of their vile acts and plans without their slaves having any clue what was about to happen. You kind of know where we're going with this? They did let slaves understand English words like safe, giving the illusion of stability, only to sell them at a moment debt was due. They even taught them certain English words in the Bible, like servants, be obedient to them, that they are your masters, to make it seem like the harm and labor they endured was actually a divine requirement. They wanted the enslaved to believe that resisting a master was the same as resisting God. And most importantly, by keeping them illiterate, owners ensured enslaved people couldn't read the laws that defined them as chattel, meaning property, and later the laws that would give the slaves their rights. Which brings us right back to the question of why so many white Americans are acting batshit crazy over the halftime show not being performed in English. It stems back to our violent white history and white supremacy. It's called projection. To some white people, if they cannot understand what someone is saying, they cannot know if they are plotting, mocking them, or organizing. When white people are triggered hearing Spanish or any other language for that matter in a grocery store or park, it often stems from that same subconscious discomfort, the feeling that a secret conversation is happening that they cannot monitor or control. Then there's the great replacement anxiety, a concept in psychology called dominant group threat. When a group has historically held all the power, socially, linguistically, and politically, any shift in the landscape feels like a personal attack. The projection. There is a fear if Spanish speakers become the majority, they will treat English speakers the way English speakers historically treated others. Forced assimilation, loss of rights, social exclusion. The irony. The anger is often a projection of the winner-takes-all mentality that defined early American history, because white settlers historically used language to dominate others. There is a fear that a new language will be used to dominate them. And finally, the best for last, historical amnesia. Part of the anger stems from forgetting that Spanish was spoken in North America, in the Southwest, Florida, and Puerto Rico long before English settlers arrived in many of those areas. By framing Spanish as an invading language, it allows white people to ignore the fact that the U.S. expanded into Spanish-speaking territories like Texas, California, New Mexico, and Florida through war and through purchase. So there you go.
The more you actually dig into this, the more you research. You know, that thing MAGA swears only happens when their orange oracle opens his mouth. The more you realize how deep all of this really goes. What people dismiss as a simple culture war isn't simple at all. It's layers of history, years of conditioning, and unresolved racism bubbling to the surface. And these are the conversations we have to be brave enough to sit with, not just in America, but in our homes, in our own countries. Because this isn't an American-only problem. There are nations everywhere still wrestling with tribalism, colorism, and inherited prejudice. And I guess the real goal of this video, stepping away from all the jokes for a second, is to bring us back to something basic: humanity. Right now, as you're watching this, ask yourself where you stand. Yes, culture matters, ethnicity matters, identity matters, but at the end of the day, there is only one race, the human race. And somehow we've been taught to turn on each other in ways that only hold us back. Imagine how far any country, imagine how far the world could go if people genuinely took care of one another. If empathy wasn't treated like weakness, if love wasn't seen as naive, if doing the right thing was the norm instead of the exception. Until that happens, we're going to keep repeating the same cycle. We're going to keep watching people mess around and face the consequences. MAGA, in a lot of ways, is just a loud example of a lesson history keeps trying to teach. Division always comes with a cost, and history is rarely kind to those who build their identity on exclusion. I'm going to leave you with a clip that shows what's possible when leadership actually looks like rolling up your sleeves and getting to work. When taking care of people isn't a slogan, but a priority. Just imagine what any nation could look like if that mindset spread. Imagine if governments everywhere treated the well-being of their citizens as the baseline, not a debate. And if this video made you laugh, think a little deeper, or see things from a different angle, help push the conversation forward. Hit the like button, subscribe, share it around. Let's get this message out there. Until next time, cheers, guys.
You want to know what democratic socialism looks like? Let's take a look back at Zohran Mamdani's accomplishments that he's made in the last 6 weeks as mayor of New York City. Welcome to Mamdanistan. The first one that I want to start with is the one I think that is most important because it's tax season. If you make $97,000 or less with a qualified child or dependent, then you get to use these tax preparation services for free. If you make $68,000 and you don't have any children or dependents, you also get to use this tax preparation service for free. So if you have not filed your taxes yet, do not use H&R Block or a tax preparation service that's going to charge you. If you meet these requirements, you can get this done for free. New York City just had its safest January ever recorded. Mamdani announced that the city received 50,000 applications for 3K and pre-K after enrollment was opened on January 14th of this year. Residents of New York City who have children who are 2 years or younger get free childcare. Hochul plans to deliver universal childcare to all children under 5 by the end of 2028. He won a $5 million settlement for food delivery workers, and then he had 10,000 food delivery workers reinstated who were wrongfully terminated or removed off the app. That $5 million settlement is going to be split amongst 49,000 food delivery drivers. He sued MotoClick and the CEO and warned other food delivery apps that they need to comply with worker protections. He won a $2.1 million settlement to address hazardous conditions and tenant harassment across 14 different buildings. He signed a new executive director of Mayor's Office to combat anti-Semitism. Bill Ackman, say thank you. He's investing $38.4 million to install and deliver clean heat pumps to Nigel's Beach 41st Street housing located at Rockaway Beach in Queens. He's opening a new safe haven shelter located down in Lower Manhattan. For the first time this summer, he's going to be opening up the David Dickens Municipal Building for free public tours. For Black History Month on February 7th, there'll be free admission at the Louis Armstrong House Museum. He's building new single-room shelter units for the homeless who don't want to have a roommate when they actually seek shelter. He signed an executive order to assign a chief savings officer across city agencies to bolster city performance. I actually really like this one because for me, this is where compliance meets accountability. This is to prevent economic waste, considering that we have been left in a $12 billion deficit from the previous administration. One of the things that makes me happy about what he is doing, or at least what his process is he's making an initiative to take care of the New Yorkers who have been most neglected, while simultaneously figuring out a way to decrease our $12 billion deficit. We're getting new youth clinics at NYC Health. He banned hotel hidden fees and unexpected credit card holds. He's restarting the Just Home Supportive Housing Initiative, which is a housing initiative for formerly incarcerated individuals who have critical medical needs. This project was actually blocked by the previous administration. He signed an executive order to cut fines and fees for small businesses across the city. He's expanding public restrooms across the city. He's working on banning solitary confinement. He's working to protect tenants from rental ripoffs and abusive landlord practices. He's cracking down on junk fees and other traps that drain money from New Yorkers. And the last one, he's working on a complete redesign of McGinnis Boulevard. If Mamdani's been able to accomplish all of this in the last 6 weeks, I am definitely looking forward to his 4 years in office.